Hi, in this example of the corporate income, we're going to calculate a corporate income tax. Now this will be done by combining three Vlookups into the same formula. But before we do that, we're going to break it down mathematically to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to try to show you a little bit easier way to do this. So in the taxable income, I'm just going to put in a number and I'm going to put it in as 110,000. Now how this table works, it shows us that if we have an income of at least 100,000 but less than 335, we would use this row of data. So it's saying for that income we start with a base of 22,250, and then we need to take the difference between 110,000 and 100,000 to tax that remaining 10,000 at 39%. So let's go ahead and write that out mathematically. Ignore the fact that we need VLOOKUPs. So we're starting with a base of 2250. Then we need to add to that the difference between $110,000 minus $100,000. Keep in mind PEMDAS, your order of operations, so within that we want to subtract that first before we multiply by 39%. And that gives us our amount of taxes that needs to be paid. Now you could go ahead and try typing that all at once to convert that from VLOOKUP, from the mathematical format to VLOOKUP, but I find it easier to tackle one number at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and let's start with 110 because that doesn't need a VLOOKUP. I'm going to just double click on that number, delete it, and I want to substitute a B4. Now I press enter just to show you that the tax amount remains the same. Now let's tackle one more number. So I'm double clicking on the 22,250 and right within there I type in a VLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP, and I go ahead and I'm looking up the value of B4. I'm going to go ahead and look at this tax range, and in this case I want to return the value in column 2. And I want a true because it is an approximate match. We do not have all 18 plus million rows to show the tax base or the tax amount. Alright, I press enter and that amount stays the same. Alright, we have one down, two more to go. So let's go ahead and double click on the 100,000. Now this is where we need to watch our parentheses because we need to make sure we keep this remaining parenthesis here that's right before the asterisk and make sure that that stays there while we add the VLOOKUP. So we'll actually have two parentheses right there in a row. And once again we are looking up the value B4. I'm going to go over to this range here, and this time we want to return the value in column 1. And once again, I'm going to put in a true. Once again, I'm hitting that parenthesis to wrap up the VLOOKUP, leaving the parenthesis that was there so we don't have a parenthesis problem. And our value stays the same. Once again, we're going to go ahead and type in a VLOOKUP, B4, same range. I don't need to put absolute value because I'm not copying it anywhere. And this time I want the third column, which is the tax rate, and true. And press enter, and here's our formula with 3 VLOOKUPs. Now you'll notice that if you try typing it without breaking it down, it can be a little cumbersome. So you have to type VLOOKUP, get your range, and if you can, that is great, but I'll be honest, I've had problems doing that, and I've done this several times before. VLOOKUP. And once again, we're going here, the same table, comma 1, true, double parentheses, just making sure I remember that, and one more VLOOKUP. You can see this is a little more challenging. You have to kind of think your way through it rather than just taking it one step at a time. And we cross our fingers and press enter and it works. But I think you can see why breaking it down might be a little bit more helpful for most people, especially if you haven't typed this formula several times before, such as I have, this exact formula. Now let's try it out. Let's try with an income of 300,000. Great, I think I made it 30,000, so let's add one more. There we go. It seems to be working great. Now this is a fairly complex formula, but if you take it one step at a time, break it down, think about it mathematically, you can do it.